Greetings everybody, Dave DeWalt here. I'm the founder and CEO of NightDragon. We're coming to you live from NASDAQ's market site here in New York City. Happy holidays everybody. Our event, NightVision, is coming to you live, and we have a series of 10 guests to talk about cyber safety, security, and privacy in the world of 2023 and beyond. Today I have an amazing guest, Tamer Hassan, the CEO of HUMAN, one of the coolest company names I know in cyber, naming your company HUMAN. So Tamer, talk a little bit about, for a second, your background, because of all founders and CEO people that I know, you have one of the more interesting backgrounds and experience. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dave. Always a pleasure. I'm always excited to spend time with you, and it's an honor always to sit next to you. HUMAN, we've been doing for 10 years. I'm the co-founder and CEO. Prior to that, and prior to technology, I was an officer and aviator in the Air Force, flew a few different airframes, but primarily combat search and rescue and PAVOK helicopters, a modified Black Hawk. Technologist by trade. I grew up with code, and that was always my passion, was building, and some strange route brought me back to building to defend companies from cyber attacks.
Flying helicopters to doing cybersecurity, not your usual career path, so I had to hear a little bit about that. Tell everybody what HUMAN does, because I think this is one of the more interesting companies out there, not just today, but for the future.
Absolutely. Our mission at HUMAN Security is to make cyber fraud unprofitable. We embed ourselves in applications and websites. We protect against large-scale bot attacks, account takeover, manipulation of popularity in media. Our goal is to make the user journey online safe, secure, low friction for our customers. We do this on over 20 trillion interactions a week on the internet, and our technology is designed to determine whether it's the real and right human on any of those interactions.
The difference between a human and a bot, in my opinion, is one of the biggest challenges we'll be facing in the world today. And the idea of understanding human first came to me when I was CEO of Fireside Mandate, and you heard this story. Yeah, we really started to see the Russian GRU begin to create influence campaigns into America using bots. Eventually ended up with a lot of arrests. The IRA group was arrested for generating a lot of bots to create, different types of disinformation. So this problem goes back a while, and now here we are with potentially a new pandemic of bot problem brought on by AI. So not only do we want to know the difference between a human and a bot, can we tell the difference between a good bot and a bad bot as well? 20 trillion a week, is it, or a month?
A week, yeah.
How does this company leverage cloud, and AI technologically to solve that kind of scale? That's incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's really important in this game of defending against these bots to change the economics, increase the cost to attackers, lower the cost of defense. We do that with collective protection. An attack on one customer is protection on all. It's built into the machine learning and embedded there, and we've had to scale that over the last 10 years. And some of the largest enterprises online, whenever you log into a bank, buy something on an e-commerce platform, buy a concert ticket, or just are on a website, we're usually there in some layer validating real and right human to ensure that it's not compromised.
Was there a famous singer named Taylor Swift that had a bot problem? Maybe tell that story if you can.
Yeah, there was, and that ultimately led to, of course, the Senate and antitrust
so what happened?
Product.
Yeah.
But the anytime there's high demand like that, we see bots being used to take over and take as much of that inventory as possible.
So bought up all the tickets quickly with bots.
Tickets. What we saw on the dark web in the months leading up to that concert was over 11,000 references to Taylor Swift and other entities. Malware specifically designed for that particular event, and something that obviously compromised a lot of accounts in order to take those tickets.
And then ultimately, this caught the attention of the government as well, to this plague of bots that really doesn't enable citizens to buy directly from sources, commerce sources, because of this bot problem, right? And do you see regulation beginning to occur here? Could policy begin to play a role? My personal opinion, we need some sort of better management of anti-bot detections to really help our citizens, whether it's government to citizen or business to consumer. Feels like a really important inertia area.
I completely agree. The fair access to goods is a big part of that, as well as cybersecurity and making sure appropriate protections in place. Zero trust is very important, the basics, but there is a zero trust bot gap of what we call bot on the back. Bob, when your computer is compromised and it is trusted in a zero trust framework, so is the bot that's a part of that. And that's something that we're working to educate on. But largely, the role of regulation is going to be important, and even more so now with artificial intelligence. The transparent use of AI, knowing whether something on the other end is an autonomous agent or not, is going to be critical, because it's no longer just malicious players. The future of the internet is completely changed, and it will be governed by bot activity, both legitimate and illegitimate. And being able to tell the difference, having the declaration of what is legit, is one of the first steps and one of the more important roles that government can play in this.
Something I found really fascinating with HUMAN is that not only can you really prevent cyber problems with bots, you know, denial of service, DDoS type of attacks, account takeover type attack, but you can also really help with ad integrity, advertising integrity. Talk a little bit about that as well, and what kind of problem is that for advertisers on the internet?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we see our vision and present it, it's about the full digital user journey online, from the top of the marketing funnel through signing up for an account on a media platform to transactions downstream. That's what we're here to protect. Now, in digital advertising, $600 billion spent every year, and that's approaching $1 trillion, to reach real human eyeballs. And so often we are used in a large part of that space, one, to make sure those dollars are reaching real human eyeballs, and that's a part of the marketing effectiveness, and also to ensure that the data has integrity. Manipulated data and skewed data, the decisions that we make just on the metrics in the marketing funnel, has a great impact on the business. So we serve marketing teams in advertising, we serve security teams for account protection, and we protect websites from things like scraping of sensitive data and other forms of abuse.
2024 is going to be an interesting year, in my opinion. I've said this on the record. Not only do we have one of the largest and most important elections potentially in America's history, but we have a lot of potential interference from nation states from all over the world as well. We've watched that over the last couple elections. It's been a rising problem. We're now seeing, in my opinion, HUMAN be a very important collective defense against that problem. Talk a little bit about that if you can, and how can HUMAN play a role in this as national security infrastructure to America?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're seeing only the beginning of what disinformation will eventually look like with AI behind it. Now, when we look at the problem, we see two components. There's the content generation, whether the content is credible, and that's a lot of what's being talked about with AI now, these generated images or text, the ability to manipulate. And then there's the amplification piece, the hijacking of algorithms. That's where we see the bot activity that we see being used to take content that's not credible, amplify it, manipulate, and hijack algorithms. Now, what I think is going to happen in the future, Dave, with the content pieces is that we're going to get used to seeing bad content. I think right now it's alarming, but you know, when I think about my kids now with their phones, and they're 8, 10, and 12, they get all the same phishing texts that we all get, and they're used to it now. They're used to questioning it. And so I think as a society, we're going to begin to develop new mechanisms for questioning whether or not content is credible as that gets democratized. The real concern I would have about the future is about things like AI poisoning or AI takeover when it's beneath the surface, right? Those are the things that we think about with our technology. When you have AI embedded in businesses doing things like customer service or making decisions or interacting in certain areas, what happens when somebody compromises that AI control interface and can control it? Or what happens when somebody can actually poison an AI model with erroneous data to influence? How is that going to evolve even with persistent threats and when you have a specific target? I think that's where the game is really going to play out, is how can we secure AI that's used in businesses everywhere, and how can we ultimately trust it?
One of the most important companies in the world, in my opinion, is HUMAN. Tamer Hassan, thank you for joining. We can see this era of information warfare, influence operations, hitting every shape and form of our lives. And we see it with Hamas and Israel. We see it with Russia and Ukraine. We're watching it in the United States here. I believe this is one of the biggest threats and risks that we have. Thank you for all the service you've done for the country as well as for HUMAN. Really appreciate you, and thanks for coming on the show, my friend.
Thank you, Dave. It's always a pleasure.